Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Historic Preservation Commission meeting for September 9th. We could start with approval of the meeting minutes, but we don't have any meeting minutes from last week yet. We'll have to wait till next time to do that.
Does Brian still do those?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he couldn't make it tonight.
Okay.
I apologize. Unfortunately, I did not receive a copy prior to the start of the meeting. So I do apologize about that.
That's it. All right. It's not the first time. It's not bad.
We won't write you up.
Moving forward, I would like to try and be more consistent with that. My first meeting will get better.
Okay, so moving on, public hearings, we have no demolitions again tonight, which personally I find a good sign.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You know, next week we'll probably have 15, but
Next month. Next month.
next month.
Don't rush it.
Right.
Hello. Easy.
Just got started. We don't have any minutes and we don't have any demolitions. So we're moving on to visitor comments and we don't have any visitors either. I assume nobody's online. Oh, actually, we had a few people who were gonna maybe zoom in. Can you tell? Oh, there's a, no, it's just us, just us. Okay. All right, well. Thank you. Okay, so then, Karen, you're just in time. Any updates?
Well, I'll just kind of remind you, guys should have gotten a letter from Dr. Peoples, basically talking about the boards and commissions, what we talked about before. We asked for some more time and to be able to discuss some other things that might be applicable to ordinance reviews, like discourage and tear downs and all of that, in addition to, instead of just an isolated conversation around frontage garages. So basically what we slowed that down. And so there's going to be an opportunity for the, actually, this is addressed to the Architectural Review Board, Historical Preservation Commission, Plan Commission, and the Sustainability Commission to look at any of the plan ordinance reviews or that we are looking at, what's being put forth, well, basically what they said. Did you guys get this?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I didn't hear.
Oh, I think they just sent it to the.
They just sent it
chair.
to
And
chairs
the
and
chair
vice
makes-
chairs.
Okay, all right. So basically what's gonna happen is there's gonna be, cover letter, offering background and content, presentation slides, related material, recommended red line versions and ordinances, and really just an opportunity to, there will be two opportunities. The materials will be provided with at least a 2 months notice or 2 scheduled meetings in advance. We recommend the following structure: the first meeting to have a collective review and discussion of the materials. The second meeting to have formal discussion and vote to determine support for the proposed ordinance along with additional feedback. Now, one of the things that she's pointing out, we're excited to have the input from the respective boards and commissions. This process is advisory in nature. Your insights, you play a key role in all of that. So again, it's an opportunity to put in front of you any ideas or any recommendations or any considerations that we're having, and to take your input in terms of anything that you might want to provide. It's and it is an advisory.
Thank you, Karen, for slowing things down.
Yes, greatly
Deeply
appreciated.
grateful for that. Thank you. I did have a couple of questions about our feedback and what form is that in and to whom should it be addressed?
I would say that is going to be addressed to city council.
Okay.
Okay, to address it to city council. And there was not any formal format or that, required. You could write up whatever your comments were based upon the information that you've been given, any recommendations. So, but there's not a particular format or
A letter.
a letter.
Would that be the best way to do it?
Exactly.
That was one of my questions, and also I think it would be helpful to have a more clear cut idea of time frame. It's like 2 meetings.
Yeah, I don't know that yet.
That's, yeah, I know, but it just, it's a little amorphous, because we'd hate to have our meeting and then find out that
Mhm.
the vote is before our next meeting.
Yeah.
So I think it would be helpful to be able to have a little more clear cut. I appreciate the 2 meetings, that's great, but just a little more clear idea of.
And I agree, because
Yeah.
when I look back at this today, I was like, damn, there's not time frame on here. So,
Just a
yeah,
deadline.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so no, I agree. So that's what I am gonna ask that question, because I knew that I had read this before, and then I was pulling it out so that I could address it. And then I realized that there's not a particular story. And I know that it's not like, some broad indefinite point in time, because it's also in alignment with the adoption of the well, it's not the adoption of the comprehensive plan is not contingent upon these. These are just some of the things that, starting to move forward to do what we can to execute on some of the things in the comprehensive plan. But so I will get that clarified, because I wanted a clearer picture too of when that first meeting will be, and then what our timeframes are for this.
And it would be nice to have sort of an official declaration, this is your first meeting. So, because like we had that discussion last.
Our last meeting.
Yeah, and so, my concern is, well, was that being construed as our first meeting? Or is there an official first meeting after that? Because
That wasn't construed as your
Yeah.
first meeting. This was, well, I'll get clarified exactly
Okay,
when the first meeting is, the second meeting, and then the requested deadline for submittal of your comments.
thank you.
Would you forward that to the rest of us so we can have an understanding?
Sure, yeah,
What's going on?
I can do that. It's sending. Um. So I think that so we had a lot of discussion the last time on the garages. And I guess a couple of you weren't here, but, so I don't know that we want to go through all that again. It was very long. But if there's anything anyone would want to add, I think it would be good for us to write a letter as the Historic Preservation Commission, with our views on what should be done or not. You know what I mean? What we think of the proposal, and if there's anything about it that we would revise or any suggestions we could make to improve it, that sort of thing. And any maybe pros and cons that we have as our opinions of whatever, and what effect we think it might have on the historic part of the community, but that's what we are, it's a Historic Preservation Commission.
I have a question about that. So like if we do draft a letter, and it have all of our names on it, right? And then would there be some type of accountability to at least think about our recommendation, or would it just be like I don't know, like, is it a formal request to consider these things?
So it's not a vote. Okay, so
Okay.
it's not a vote that's going to determine which way the council, but it's advisory for the council.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
that we can take into consider, so it's not a vote, but it is an advisory for the council to take into consideration what, the commissions think, what the ones that, so that we're not doing this in a vacuum.
Wonderful.
You
Okay,
know.
thank you.
Yeah, and again, because one of the things that I would gladly see incorporated in that is just what was brought up when we were talking, is not to just look at that one thing, but before we start looking at that particular issue, let's look at some of the other things that's impacting, the tear down, doing the things that we can to, and the biggest thing that we can all agree on is that we need to revisit that fixed area ratio.
Mhm.
Because that's the one thing that we can control, I feel like, immediately to impact or discourage tear downs, because that's So anyway, I'm gonna
Yes,
get on
ma'am.
that
Yes, ma'am.
soapbox.
Thank you.
But so I'm saying, I would say just to that advisory, that input, because, and we're already pretty much in agreement that that's something that needs to be looked at more from a holistic perspective instead of taking just little bits and pieces and over time doing this and then doing that. Let's look at some of these things that we can pull together and have common impacts and influences in what we can do from a zoning perspective.
Thank you.
You know, Karen, you brought up a very valid comment, and Elliot elaborated about the current code and how carports are considered.
Mhm.
And this just is a thought, but to me, it makes perfect sense that if there's carports, people should be able to enclose those carports and have front entry garages, since the carports are front entry.
Mhm.
So if the ordinance that's proposed would be revised to consider those carports as existing front entry garages in like a count, like if you're doing the 40% count, have those carports count as part of the 40%, and then therefore allow people to enclose those carports. And then also new homes constructed in that area
Mhm.
will also be allowed, if the 40% rule remains intact.
Mhm.
New homes would be allowed to have the front entry garages.
Mhm.
So I think tweaking that ordinance to allow carports to be considered
Mhm.
as front entry garages, I think that would help address your very valid concern. And something else that I think is really important, especially to this commission, is to verify that there is indeed another ordinance, another zoning ordinance that keeps front entry garages from being added to our historic properties.
And that would be, and we even talked about that too, that would be an absolute, because we know that there's, we have historic properties, we have historic designations, we have, those things, and we definitely want to make sure that all of that is
That-
recognized and respected.
I think that would somehow need to be incorporated
Mhm.
into this ordinance, because based on my experience as both a board member and a practicing professional in this community, if that 40% ordinance goes away, I don't know of another ordinance
Mhm.
that protects our historic properties from front entry garages. There's design guidelines, but those don't carry the same force as an ordinance.
Mhm.
So I think it's very important that when a project comes into planning and zoning review, if someone does say, okay, here's a Webster Park house and I want to put a 3-car front entry garage on it, that the zoning ordinance would prohibit.
Right, and those are things that you can put into your
Yeah. Yeah.
advisory to go forward, and that's why we're asking that.
Yeah.
So to incorporate those things in there, so all of that is taken into consideration, because I think that it's not just asking to just throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's like, let's take a look at this and see how this might be tweaked, because we basically added a broad brush across the entire community, and the entire community is not a monolith. There's a
And so you don't, and actually, right, you don't want to do the same thing in reverse either. right?
Exactly.
Exactly. So you want to make sure.
There were some strong opinions in this room, so I'm looking forward to putting together a letter to kind of codify all
Right.
that into
Right.
our recommendations.
And so one thing I wanted to ask Karen specifically is, I think that was an excellent point about the carports.
Mhm.
Was there anything else along those lines that you would like to bring up for us to consider? Because, the tweak about the carports I wasn't aware of, and what you're saying is perfectly valid. So is there anything else you can think of that you might want us to consider?
I think the biggest thing for me was in being conscientious of the diversity in the different styles in the different neighborhoods. It's not, absolutely, I know people say, I've been here for 30 years, I've been here, this is the way it is, and this is why I came here, this is why I loved it. Well, I've been here for 60. And I love it too. And I also appreciate that there's differences in the different neighborhoods, you know, and some of them where it's pretty common, some of them, you know, but either way, I just think that that ordinance can be tweaked so that it's not a hard and fast rule that's applied to everybody because all the neighborhoods the same way, because all of the neighborhoods are the same.
I
You know.
agree. And I think that for those of us who were here 20 years ago when the current ordinance was drafted, that was the whole point of the 40% rule, was like, you know, we're not going to do everything that's across the community. It's like, okay, if you move into this area and there's already front entry garages, you know, there's front entry garages. And that's why the 40% rule came into effect. So that, just to let you know the background, that was an attempt to address the variety in the community.
And that's appreciated. And it's like a lot of things. It's like our intentions, and when we put something in place, we put it in place with the intention of trying to address equally what we're doing. But sometimes we just find out over time that, okay, there were some things that may not have been considered. Carports, you know, there's some things that, you know, may be reconsidered, you know, but there's also things that we all agree have to remain protected, you know, so it's again, just an opportunity to do that, to slow down and to articulate that, and to also have an opportunity to holistically address that with like the biggest thing we have in our toolbox, I think, to address the tear downs and what have you, because that's another thing. By addressing that fixed area ratio, we minimize the opportunity
Absolutely.
for builders to come in and tear down that little cottage and
Right.
replace it
I
with
think it'll outline.
whatever. And you almost take that argument off the table, because now what you've done, in my opinion, is you've kind of helped level the playing field for the common homeowner, residential person that wants to go in and grab one of those little houses and renovate it. You know, and even if they do tear it down, then you still have some guardrails around what you put back is more in alignment with what exists in the neighborhood.
That sounds great. Actually, I was reading an article today about the effects on neighborhoods of corporate real estate buyers, that they're going around buying up small properties, and it makes it much harder for families or first-time homeowners to get these really nice properties because the corporate buyers outbid
They
normal people.
Exactly.
And they take them, they either tear them down or they rent them out for a bunch of money, but they really don't have regard for the community.
No, they don't.
So, yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Short-term rentals.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, because and one of the things too is that even in thinking about the changes, the tweaks that we can make to that thing, to the front entry garages, that's why we also wanted to be very intentional about going back and emphasizing the guidelines even around them when they do exist.
Oh, yes.
You know, is they can't be, you know,
Most of your house.
most of your house, you
Right.
know, they can't stand out. They have to be part of the design feature, you know, but, you know, because I will tell you, you know, Webster is Webster. People are trying to get in here. So, you know, although it may not appeal to someone's aesthetic sensibility, but still in North and South Webster and whatever, where they're going in and they're putting those in, they don't devalue those houses because they have a front entry garage. They still want to get in Webster School District and whatever, but we still have a responsibility to make sure that we are putting guardrails around even that where we are allowing that, so that the design, the size, the impact, the aesthetics are addressed, so that again, we're just trying to make sure that even when we, put the fixed area ratio, go in where you are allowed to have them, you still have some guardrails that you have to comply with.
When you say tweak the floor area ratio, what do you, can you tell me some more about what you mean by that?
Well, right now, the floor area ratio, in just a crude explanation, in my opinion, just basically says, as long as you meet the setback and you have the 6 foot between your property and your boundary line, you can build that.
Well,
And I know I'm oversimplifying it, but I'm saying, but what I would rather see is have a fixed area ratio that's more in alignment with what exists in the neighborhood. So that you don't tear down a 900 square foot house and put up a 2,500 square foot house. You don't tear down a 1,200 square foot house and put up a 2,500 square foot. You need to have a maximum square footage that is the average of the historical home sizes in that area. That's my proposal. That's what I'm pushing for. That's what I would like to see.
Okay.
And I believe that what that does is it reduces the attractiveness of builders and deep pocket investors, because now their opportunity to maximize their profit is reduced considerably, because what they got to come back with is limited in square footage. And in doing so, I think then that kind of takes some of that competition out the way. And it's like, if they want to build a mansion, that's fine. Go where the mansions are and build it up there. Pay for the land and build it up
And
there.
I feel like that's the cut around.
Right.
That they go to places where the mansions are, to build there is gonna be astronomically more expensive. And so if you're trying to take advantage of our neighborhoods to do it here, because it's.
And that ends up being a detriment and a disadvantage to us and to any other. They're taking advantage of us, and they're also eliminating the competition. They are making it difficult for families to come in and buy those homes that many in cases where they would want to keep that size
And
home
we still gotta
or
pay
buy
property
down.
taxes. And we still gotta pay, now taxes gonna go up because.
Exactly.
But anyway,
Exactly. Yes, ma'am.
Can I just ask a question? So how does the ordinance address the areas in Webster that have already had a lot of religion? And so they've torn down these small historic homes and they've then built up these newer, bigger semi-mansions. And so it's already changed the dynamic of that of a particular neighborhood. And so then is the new standard the majority
No.
of the new homes?
My position is that when we are.
You're going all in.
And now you're the one I'll charge them.
No.
Last time it was me.
My position is when we go back and we're comparing to like the historical
Very good.
size, average sizes of the homes. So I would say that something built within the last, 5-10 years that is an outlier in terms of square footage and all of that would be considered an outlier and excluded from that average.
That's-
Oh, that's an
Sounds great.
excellent thing, an
Because-
outlier.
It's an outlier.
An outlier, anything that is beyond a certain percentage. I mean, it could be as little as 20%. It's out. It doesn't get
It's
included.
out.
That's an easy way to just say that one gigantic house on the street of little ones.
That's
No, it's
great.
You don't get
excluded.
to ruin the
You
whole
don't get-
street.
No,
Yeah.
exactly.
Because I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking of the erosion over time as bigger houses get built,
Mhm.
then it's gonna bring that average up. Because right now, I've mentioned this before, on my 1 block long street, we have an 800 square foot 1920 cottage.
Mhm.
And then we have a huge 5 bedroom,
3,000.
4 bath, $1.5 million house on the same size lots as our restaurants and our cottages. So I was thinking on our street, it would, I'm glad to hear about the exclusion of the outliers,
Yeah, no.
because that would help keep things more reasonable.
Right.
And those Glendale guidelines that
Mhm.
we were talking about, I'll forward those to you.
Okay.
They're very well done, and all the way through those design guidelines, it emphasizes ways to respect the existing neighborhood.
Mhm.
So I think they're very well done. So I'll send those to you. So, you know, as y'all are starting to consider what steps to take to implement the comprehensive plan, I think you'd find that very valuable.
I have a question. In reading, I wasn't here last time, but I did read the materials and I saw it was noted that one reason for the possible change was because of all the variances that have been granted. And I'm wondering how and why are those variances granted?
There's only been 20.
Oh,
In about 20 years, it's only about one.
okay.
So that to me, you know, as we were saying, to me, that can be construed as the ordinance is working, and if someone does need relief, there is an avenue for relief. And Hillary made an excellent point that some of those projects got more than one variance. So it may be 20 variances, but some of those projects had more than one variance. So the number of projects is actually lower than the number of variances. Because some of them may have gotten an exclusion.
I think what he did was he looked at the total number of variances, and that 20 were ones that were related specifically to frontage or garage.
As I recall, Hillary, when you answered the question, was.
I don't remember the details, but yeah.
Oh,
I
didn't
think-
know.
I think
He wasn't
the,
sure.
yeah, because it seemed to me that I can go back and look at the exchange on YouTube again, but it seemed to me that the point was made that some of them might be to have a front entry garage, another might be for projection.
Oh, to having to do, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and so,
Yeah.
so all of those, so there may have been more than one variance per project related to the garage.
Mhm.
So it may not be of 20 different houses, it may have been 17 different houses, but some of those houses had multiple variances.
Well, and that's something I still don't understand about how the city runs its Board of Adjustment, because the law says you can't create your own hardship, right? So you can't say, I want to build a garage that's 60% of the front of my house. Well, you can't do that, right? It's like you said you're creating your own hardship. I mean, usually, and I'm gonna not be able to come up with a good example, but you know, usually when you go before a Board of Adjustment, it's for something like a misshapen lot and you can't meet the lot requirements to put your house on it. So you're not really, but if you want to do a big old garage,
Well,
you're
if you
creating
go
your
big-
own
if you're-
hardship.
If your lot were shaped odd and you had one of those teeny garages and you're like, well, I can't get my car in there anymore now that cars are huge. I've lived here for 150 years, and so I'd like to have a garage where I could get into it. So my car doesn't fit. That would be a reason,
Yes,
right? There's not very many reasons where your garage is a hardship.
right, and that's what
necessarily. There's only a
the
few.
data that he gave us last time didn't show
No.
the reasons for the request for the variance.
So-
Okay, so we will,
So not very many.
Okay,
Is the answer.
about 1 year.
Fine then.
so we then need to put together a letter, I think, from the board. Now, either if there's anybody who would like to do a letter, anybody at all, that's great. I can do a letter. But I think we need to just share it and everybody comment or something like that would be the best way to go about that.
Can you just put it up on like Google Docs and give us all
It's a good idea.
access?
Do you want to do it?
Do well, I'll have to look at the meeting minutes because I don't remember from the whole thing.
Well, I think that. I mean, we just need would be good to have make it pretty simple, that council members have a lot to do, a lot of things to look through, get a lot of papers. It's almost like having some way to make it very concise what we're talking about. I don't know.
I tell you what, if you want to email us like bullet points of what should be in it, I can draft something.
Okay,
Yeah, I was thinking, you know, we could,
you want to do it?
Yeah.
Start something up? Okay,
Well,
we can start sending you.
Yeah, send me what
Send
you
you
need
some
to send
stuff.
me and I can draft it.
And start,
with that
that would be
information.
wonderful, thank you.
Yeah.
That would be
That would
great on
be great.
Google Docs. So we
Sure.
Or at least give us viewing access.
Yeah,
if you
no,
don't
no,
want
no,
to.
I'm doing a Google Doc, so that's an
Yeah.
excellent idea.
Okay,
That
That would be
sounds
great.
really good. And then if you wouldn't mind, Jason, maybe we could all send you, our bullet points.
Yeah.
Then you can, cause I'm sure there'll be some overlap. But that way you can have, that would be wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's my deadline? That's what I need to know.
Well,
I guess our next meeting, we don't, the next meeting is
Just a
not.
draft.
Draft by
You're
next
not
meeting.
gonna vote for that.
Roger that.
should we, give ourselves?
And then
a-
I should be able to get,
Yes, thank you.
more clarity around exactly what the timelines are for this, because I know that they didn't, we didn't want to just hang it out there,
Yeah.
but because we're wanting to.
Right,
And,
yeah.
and we don't want to miss anything either.
Exactly, right. We don't want to miss anything, and then we want, because we want to start trying to get some movement and completion on some of these things, but we also want to make sure that you have, because this just says 2-week notice and like 2 week notice. Yeah.
So how about we all get something to you, by next Tuesday?
Okay, great.
A week for us.
Yeah.
And then we can think about it and send something to you.
Perfect. And I'll
Okay.
have it draft by our next meeting. How's that?
Sounds perfect.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And if you want, but you'll put it up on,
Yes.
Google Docs so we could look and
Yeah,
send
yeah, yeah.
that
So
whenever.
just so you know what I'm thinking, you'll send me information by next Tuesday. And I'll draft the letter between next Tuesday up until, say, October 13th.
Okay, so a little bit before, and
Yeah.
then, so we can look at it before we go.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what-
absolutely. Yeah, so maybe you look at a calendar. And that way I can put some hearts at ease. But what I'll probably do is draft something out and have it, I'll send it to us by October 6th.
Oh, great.
That sounds good.
You know what I
That's
mean?
wonderful.
And then you can make any
Before, yeah.
comments by then. And then I can have, I'll make those completions by October 10th. How's that?
Sounds great.
Okay. So I'm making myself a note as well, October 6th. Right. Send it to the team on the 10th.
Okay. All right. That should take care of that. Got any other announcements?
Nope, I'm good.
That's all I got. Okay, so new business, going to talk to Sam a little bit about her report. Actually, go ahead. You can introduce yourself, Dallas.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sam Dobson. I did an internship here with the city from September of last year till May. Working on looking at our city's residential demolitions and subsequent new construction. And so I prepared, I actually presented this to council back in March, but I prepared this report and a set of case examples to look at that kind of just talk about the project and demonstrate what we're looking at. So I don't want to like redo my whole presentation, but has anyone gotten a chance to actually look at any of this?
Oh, yeah.
Is this- Okay.
Very well done.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Very nicely done.
Awesome. Thanks. So yeah, it was a very interesting project to dig into and so what we ended up finding is that we build bigger and more expensive. It's quite normal for us to tear down the 800 or 900 square foot home and rebuild 2,500, 3,000 square feet. However, it's not at a rate that is super alarming or concerning, I think, yet, right? And that's kind of what I want to talk about is like how this is seen in the community and how like what we don't want to become, I guess. And this is based on what I've heard talking to residents through my demolition research. And also for the past 4 months, I've now been the city's code enforcement officer. So I have been out and about chatting with a lot of our residents and realtors that work in the area. and developers. And I hear this sentiment a lot, or concern, I guess you would say, that we see what's happened in our neighboring town of Kirkwood. And we don't want that to happen here. And so just earlier, we were discussing kind of about how one home gets torn down and gets taken over by something that seems to change the character of the street or tower over the other homes. And so we're seeing that just here and there, right? A home here, a home there. But what we don't want to happen is like a whole street at a time and coming and erasing these homes and building, right, like new spec homes. And I think there's definite, like, and this is anecdotal evidence and concerns that I've heard, but also just who we are as a city and what we value. We have beautiful, diverse, historic housing stock that I think we're very concerned about protecting. And that's a great thing. So basically, long story short, like, this project and the policy of our recommendations that are set forth are, it's not like we don't want, we're against development or, you know, but it's just to keep in mind what we're doing, and to do so with care and compassion for our neighborhood and what's already existing around us and all of that. So I think like the case examples are very illustrative to show kind of what this looks like over the years. Was there anything that anyone had any questions on particularly to touch on, or
I did have a question.
Yeah.
for you. First of all, as a researcher, looking at your research, I'm just like, I loved it. Like the narrative, the graphs, and the overall, I guess, thesis that you put forward. I really, really loved it. You know,
thank you.
You're very welcome. One of the questions I had was, so say a corporation buys a home to demolish and they put a business in, right? And for 10 years, it's just a business where it used to be a home. What happens after that business leaves? Does it stay like a corporate or business? Does it stay in that realm, or can a resident say, you know what, I want to make this a home?
Did you have something you want to say? Because I don't know.
Sorry, I just want to elaborate on your question a bit, because the code specifically details what is allowed, like uses. So depending on where they're building it, they may not be able to have that business there. And typically a lot of our residential areas like are strict in terms of like being able to build commercial businesses.
Gotcha.
So I think in regards to that, that'd be kind of a tricky question, but
Honestly, I'm not too sure. I don't know of any cases actually that this has been, is there something that you're thinking of, or is this just
Yeah, I think there was one other many here where at one point it was a home and
yes,
it became a business.
right,
Is
like
that
a bank.
business?
Doesn't that require a change of zoning though?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
rather than-
Yeah.
And that's a big
Okay.
expensive protracted deal.
Gotcha.
Can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, there was maybe a couple on Big Bend.
Yeah.
But see, I had a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, a fellow professor who bought a church,
Right.
right? He wanted to buy this church and make it a home. So I wonder like how something like that happens. Like say if the bank leaves and a person says, I want, that would be a really nice house. You know, can I buy that and make that my house?
Yeah. I mean, most of the time, the zoning is pretty like, this is residential, this is commercial. There's very limited spaces where it's mixed in a sense where you wouldn't have to go about zoning changes to be able to. But there are, I think there might be very small areas here in the city that are mixed, industrial kind of, yeah. So,
Well, and in particular, they've actually used homes as businesses.
Yeah.
So I would assume it wouldn't be a stretch. Most of them are at the edge of residential areas.
Right.
Probably get the zoning changed around, it wouldn't be
Yeah.
that.
But a lot of that would have to involve like ordinance changes.
Yeah,
Because
right.
for me, I'm the planner, so
An
if
example
someone
of-
comes to me and I'm looking and they're asking, well, can I do this at this particular property? And per our zoning code, if it says that it's allowed, I can't necessarily tell them no. So
Right.
that would more or less be a policy change.
Gotcha.
So if there's something and you're seeing that we're having trends like that, that is where we begin to talk about policy. On how we change that.
Thank you both. I appreciate you.
Just an example of a church that used, I don't know Webster's zoning code, but in my experience, typically a church is a permitted use in any zoning district
Okay.
because it's church.
Yeah.
I don't know Webster's, but.
yeah, when you first asked, I was like, I'm thinking more of the like. A home on a residential street becomes a coffee shop type thing, but yes, we do, so we do have examples of this, but where it's happened here in Webster is mostly where it's like already on the edge of that already existing commercial, and then. So it seems like even if there does have to be a zoning change, it's a pretty reasonable. Addition to just have,
Cause I'm almost sure that Maypop used to be a house.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and so like I
And that,
wonder-
yes, so and that one didn't show up in here because it must have been before, this was like the past
Nothing
20
was
years or
demoed.
so.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Oh, it was just okay.
They just converted the house.
Amazing.
And was already in a commercial district.
Yeah, that's all right. I know. I
Exactly.
mean,
It's that
commercial and
little-
residential, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
One thing, as somebody who's been around here for a few decades, I can appreciate. If you look at national trends, maybe our demolition rate isn't alarming. However, for me, and seeing what I've seen, especially in my neighborhood where we had smaller houses, is the erosion over time.
yes.
And how fast it's marching. And I'm so glad to see this report, and I'm so glad the importance is being recognized as time critical. Because, from my point of view, this is every month that goes by, we're losing assets that will not be replaced.
Yes.
And it's just, they won't be replaced. And month after month, year after year, it's really hard to take. So when I'm seeing some of these policy recommendations, I think that's awesome. And, we've been entertaining conservation districts in our commission for a long time. And so now seeing this neighborhood character overlay zones, whenever you're ready, we're ready. We will be at your service to bring that about.
Awesome. So that's another thing is, I want to emphasize how this is all about, it's not like anti-demolition, right? Like there is a time and place when demolition is necessary. But it's like you brought up when we have like a totally viable home where there's a market for it, young couples who want to come in and buy this home and they're just getting outbid by developers, right? That's what we need to protect. The viable house that can stand to last for decades to come with a little bit of home maintenance and care. And when we're thinking about policy recommendations and whatnot, I don't want to forget about the home maintenance aspect. And I think something I put in there was thinking about whether it be adding on a demolition fee and then cycling that back into a home maintenance fund for the city. But that is the biggest issue from what I've seen in my research, and just that leads to the decaying and deterioration of homes and ultimately demolition. I mean, it's home, we all know that homes that were built, not even too long ago, but 50, 60 years ago, were built to last much longer than homes now. And so if some of these homes just need a little TLC, you know what I mean? And we can do something to protect them from being torn down. I mean, I think that that's extremely valuable. So, and that's why I put together a set of policy recommendations, because I don't think there's necessarily just one answer. I think that there's, this can be looked at in different ways. I think looking at the FAR, is definitely a good way to go. I do want to mention that I recall Mayor Arnold bringing up the point that we've gone about tweaking the FAR in the past. I think, and I think they've done so a couple times maybe, in recent years. And, she just noted that, well, it seems like that wasn't really doing much. What
Well,
the
because it didn't
changes.
go far enough.
Yeah, it,
No,
we
it
need to,
Okay.
They didn't.
Right, okay.
So,
They-
So
yeah.
we're wanting to push a little bit further.
Yeah.
on the-
Yeah.
Okay,
instead of, taking the ratio down, we want to take the ratio down.
right, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so, so yeah, just, you know, thinking about different things, again, I'm very cognizant of how, like, we don't wanna like keep people from doing business in Webster or make things difficult when it doesn't need to be, but so that, but that's, there's a time and place where this is necessary, this is needed, it's absolutely, you know, we have derelict properties that some of them have sat for a long time. I'm sure that people would love to see a new home go in their place, and that's fine, but I think that there's something we can do, somewhere in here, and maybe even beyond, like these recommendations, right, other things we've talked about that can go about stopping the viable homes from being torn down. And at the end of the day, I think that we have a community that so much values the history, the art, the diversity, that I don't see anything wrong with, you know, changing some of these ordinances. And if certain developers wanna, yeah, it's just a matter of like, they can take their business elsewhere. If it's a matter of protecting.
Right.
What-
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we live here, they're just gonna
She can
take the
teach her
money
to
and
put
walk.
that.
Exactly.
So we live, so
So-
yay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my take on it. But anyway, I can dig into more to like certain aspects of this, but that's kind of, go ahead.
This is so great. I'm so happy. I really am happy. This whole idea of incentives for retention of viable homes. What I've experienced and what I know people in are these great old smaller homes. We love them. They do cost a lot, and the smaller jobs, when you're going to get bids, we don't have the economy of scale. So we end up getting hit with basically an upcharge for a small project. So it ends up costing us more to keep our small, older homes in good shape.
Right.
And so for people who are seniors and maybe on fixed income, the whole idea of the grants and the low interest loans and the tax abatements, I think are phenomenal. When you say you're, about looking into some of these, strategies more deeply, I think, for me and my experience in my neighborhood, I think that one would be very helpful because people are like, they just, give up and go get a condo.
Right,
Yeah.
totally. That is definitely, yeah, it's true. I feel like, sometimes I hear that it's like, well, it's just cheaper to tear this thing down and start fresh with the old wiring, all the different things that add up, right? And so, it gets difficult.
But you know, the thing is, it's for an individual family. They don't have to go back with the maximum whatever so that they make a profit. They're wanting to go back so they can live there,
Yes.
you know, and it's less, and so they're not concerned about the economy of scale they're concerned about building a house that's affordable for them, that's small, that's, you know, what they need. And
Yeah.
so they're not faced with that, you know, they gotta maximize everything in order for it to be profitable. They appreciate the fact that, number one, they have a budget. And they're trying to go in and they want to build something that's in alignment with that they can afford to build and that's in alignment with the community. And so it's a
Well,
little
and-
different.
And a lot of times people say it's cheaper to tear this down and build something else. It is
It's
not cheaper. It is you're going to make more money if
Right.
I tear this down
Yeah.
than if I renovate it. Whereas the person who buys it to live in it, they're not making any money anyway, so they're just going to fix it. So, you know, as you said, any house built with, in particular, old growth wood is built better and stronger than any house built today. So, you know, maybe not any, but most. So there's a matter of that little aspect too. A lot of people love to say the thing, and there are houses where they are in very poor shape.
Some of them need to go.
They need to go.
It's a loss and.
So, you know, it's the way it goes. But there's many others that just, they could use a little bit of sprucing up and they would be fine to live in.
And again, that's a leveling the playing field for the family. for the
I just have
residents.
a quick question. I have to get back to the library now. But I want to ask about the reports. So I had a group of high school students came to the library on Friday. They wanted to talk about what I do for the Historic Preservation Commission and researching the demolition permits, you know, the history of the houses and what resources we have, et cetera. But they also had questions on, well, what happens with demolition permits? Do you have examples of houses that were torn down and what replaced them? And then Angela sent this to me 2 days before they came over. And so it was great. And I showed it to them. Can I give them, are these like final
Absolutely.
form? I didn't know if these were draft or.
Yes.
Yeah, so I told them I would check to see if I could send them these. It's a group of 8 students that are in a special class, and researching architecture and civic life and things like that. So so I want to make sure I
Absolutely.
could do that.
I would love to share this. I would love for everyone to see it. And in fact, it should be, there's a plan to have it shared and made public on the website and everything. We just,
Okay.
some staff.
And I might email you as well, because I'm going to continue conversations with this class.
Awesome.
Like to go there and show them in more detail, how we research our building permits and tax records and, to get the history of a house. And it could be that you could come and talk to them as well about the report and sort of the things that you found. Because it was exactly what they were interested in. And then this thing popped, up in my email to me before they came by. So
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, yeah, absolutely. I'm all for it. This is like my baby. So yeah, I'm protective, but also
Right.
want everyone to
Right.
see it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Yeah, so
No, yeah, absolutely. That makes me very happy, and I'm just glad that people are interested, and yeah, I watched the last meeting and I was like, I should have been there. I was trying to get this pushed along. We just had some delays, but
thanks for that. And then Carol, there were things that we need to talk about maybe afterwards about the trees and the
Yes,
so forth.
actually, yes, and I got erroneous plaque with the wrong date.
Yeah.
I got it. I got it off of there. Actually,
You did?
one of the vendors told me
Okay.
how to do it, and I
Uh-huh.
was over there today. If it's missing.
That's fine. Okay, I haven't seen it yet today, but okay,
Okay, I'll catch up.
yeah.
Hey, this is Doug. I'd like to make a comment or ask a question. Actually, before John leaves, I was really interested in the before and afters on the houses that were demolished and new ones put up or use another space for it. We had a significant change in our ordinance, I guess, 2017 or so, where we, for historic homes, where they required a approval from our commission before they could build, or our recommendation, I guess, and then it's ultimately the council's decision. But in going through here, it looks like that has helped with some of this. Like I don't see any houses that I'm like, gosh, I would love to see that stay, after we've had our change. So I'm a little confused by looking at these houses. These all look like they need to be torn down. That's my experience. If I'm looking at these from 2017 on, I'm having a hard time figuring out why we would want to save these houses.
Yes, and so, and that's the thing, a lot of them were in a condition where they probably needed to go. What I will say is that the recent, and you may be right, but I just want to add that the recent years, especially like COVID, so since 2020, the demolitions slowed down a little bit, and we've already seen like this year they're picking back up, and I've started to see more and more of the houses come in that are like not so much have to go kind of thing. But yes, I do think that you could be onto something there. But honestly, the past few years, it was kind of a little bit slower. Like I think last year we only had 7 demolitions, and or something like that.
Well, there was more than
there
that.
was
I mean,
more than
we
that.
had some months where we had like 5 on one month.
Yeah.
Really.
Yes.
I was gonna say, there were some that kind of haunt me that were torn down that aren't in here. One was the Gerber building, that was a historic house. And it was torn down for the bank that's there in the coffee shop now. There was one on the corner of Slocum and Foot that was a cute little house but it was on a huge lot. And the house was lived in up until somebody bought it and decided to tear it down, and it was in pretty good shape. And I don't know why we approved that one. I guess because there was no historical significance to the house.
We have to get that.
I think
Yeah.
I think I recall the one on Slocum and Foot. And this is not all of them,
Okay.
but this is a good portion of them. But
And then the third one was a house, I can't remember if it was on Slocum or Parsons, but it sat on 3 lots.
that's Dornell. That's 123 Dornell Drive.
Is it?
Backed up to Blackburn.
And so
No,
that-
it backed up,
That was 32.
it backed up to Hamel, I think.
Oh, there's
So it was on,
Oh,
there's 2 in there on Hamel.
I
Yeah,
think that
but-
one was done before we had our ordinance.
oh. But
Yeah,
that was
we-
a sad one
we
to go,
couldn't
because
do
that had a
anything we
big
could do
history,
about it.
big history.
Well, there was a
Yeah.
time when the ordinance was we only had jurisdiction over something 100 years old. And then it was changed to we have jurisdiction over anything 50 years old. So I think that did help. Just one thing, Doug, about your comment. Yes, absolutely. Looking through these houses, there are some that are distressed and obviously need to go. But some of them, case in point, they look pretty solid. They may need paint, they may they have algae that needs to be cleaned off the roof. But they look perfectly viable, so,
Fairly new even.
yeah, I mean,
And page 26.
That's sure. Yeah. When you do things like, look at the ridge line, is the ridge line sagging, is the brick falling apart? Some of them just need like cosmetic changes, and people are like, well, this costs so much and, you know, I've got to fix my plumbing, so I can't afford to do the paint. And maybe the roof will just have to wait. So they start looking a little worn, but that doesn't mean that they're unlivable and they need to be torn down. So I think there needs to be a careful eye put on that before we declare there's none of these here worth savings.
I
And, you know, this is just a street view of the outside of the house. You know, and sometimes, to your point, it can look very distressed on the outside and we still got good bones and, you know, for the most part, it might just need a little bit of cleaning up. So, I think, to your point, you're probably right. It might have, changed things and made it a little bit better, these in recent years. But a lot of these homes are definitely, you know, viable homes that could stand to last for a long time.
I know.
So
Who is saying, who in the world would buy that with?
anyway, I appreciate, your comments.
Yeah, I just hate to see we tell someone who has an old house that they would like to have a new house built.
Well, and then the thing to keep in mind too is people have property rights. So,
That's
you
right.
know, it's not as if we get to approve. Well, you know, we're just having an opportunity to look at these and well, the commission to look at these and make a recommendation or whatever. But if somebody buys a house and they want to tear their house down, we really can't stop them from tearing their house down. That's one of the things that I know I had that conversation with Neil when I first got on council. It's like, it's just people have property rights, you know, but
And
the thing is.
I don't think we're trying to infringe on those. I think we're trying to put a thoughtful process in
Yeah.
place where we don't lose properties that don't have to be lost.
If someone does tear down a property, the ARB, I mean, you set parameters for like making sure that if they're going to build a new property, it would match what.
And that's what
Yeah.
my whole position is, and
Yeah.
that what we're saying here, is because sometimes things need to be torn down. We're just wanting to be intentional about what they go back with,
Right.
you know, because sometimes you need to tear. You do, and I think that we have more of an opportunity to go back with properties that are in alignment with the neighborhood. If the families have a competitive, are able to compete for the properties. When we have those, you know, broad fix the ability of the builders and the investors to come in there and outbid the families. That's how we come back and with those huge oversights, whatever, because they're not committed to the neighborhood as much as a family may be. They're committed to their profit.
Right.
So we're like, yeah, some things just need to be torn down, but we would just like to have some guardrails around what goes.
A little bit more oversight. And I know the architectural review board, if there is a demolition, but they're going to be doing some new construction, the architectural review board will review that. And they will say like, hey, this is what we want it to look like.
But it can do nothing about the size.
They can't
Right,
do
right.
about the size,
No, that-
outside of like maybe ordinance changes because.
That's why we want ordinance
So that's why
change.
they are.
And, you know, it needs to be an ordinance where when it comes through zoning review, the zoning, planning and zoning says, you cannot do this.
Right.
Because you can say no.
Because when those projects come to ARB, they're supposed to have been reviewed for zoning compliance.
Right.
Yes.
Unless there's a floor area ratio increase request, and then there's supposed to be a whole separate package with specific data that the ARB reviews. But, you know, I think we found this on ARB. Citizens get annoyed at us. Why are you allowing those big houses? And we're saying, you know,
They're doing it in compliance with zoning.
that's not ARB.
Zoning.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Don't
Yeah.
sign off on what's allowed by the code.
Right, exactly. It has nothing to do with you
Yeah.
either, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I think with that, it might be more productive to look at more of the policy recommendations that serve more as a maybe discourager to developers, right? Or something Not that I mean, I think the things that kind of encourage keeping viable housing and encourage home maintenance and things are still great. But if we do that, are we not eliminating the issue of
The developers.
right? So I think just keeping that in mind, is
No.
important.
I have a question, if I may.
Yes.
So, and this is a question for us as a body, like, are we on board with the recommendations? Because if we are, we can possibly put it in the letter.
Oh, her
Like a draft.
recommendations in here, all right, in her report.
Yeah, so
That's
like,
actually a good point.
Yeah,
so like, as we draft a letter, we can cite you, of course, as the researcher to say, we think these recommendations ought to be adhered to.
And you can either take the whole set of recommendations or pick and choose the ones that you,
And that's what I was asking
Absolutely.
before. So I guess what I'm asking us to do is if we go back to the research and if you find recommendations that you really want to include in the letter, then send that to me. So as I draft it, I can bake that into the letter.
I think that Sam did an excellent report. Based on my reading, I don't know how pinpointed it would be toward the front entry garage issue. But there might be something in
And I did
there.
like the language you used because I actually thought about you when I read that about, I like the way you finessed the front garage thing.
Mhm.
So did you
it was thrown in somewhere in the community.
yeah,
manager
it
section
was. And
somewhere.
so that kind of language, that kind of rhetoric we can sort of use.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just thought that would be, I
Absolutely.
guess, a decent idea to
Yeah,
consider.
Yes, I have a section, I mentioned HPC, and this is my understanding, right? So, and this is what I say in the report. Any home that is more than 50 years old must get approved by the HPC for demolition. While some of the demolitions that HPC approves are in poor condition, many of them are still structurally sound and could exist for decades with some modest care and renovation. However, HPC can only prevent demolition when a home is proven to have some historical significance to the community. Under current city codes and ordinances, there are limited avenues to protecting the structurally sound, viable homes from getting demolished.
Yeah.
Right, because like if they're not historic, there's nothing we can do about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Or isn't architecture part of that too? The architecture of the house?
Yes, so if it's historically significant for its architecture, which we could at this point, which people do, say we have a limited number of small cottages and so forth, and say that they are architecturally significant in Webster Groves. However, it probably wouldn't go over well with lots of people
Yeah.
because it's not commonly done around here, but people do it other places all the time.
well, and that is actually one of the items in our criteria for designating something as an historic structure. And we only need to meet one of those criteria.
Yep.
So
we could use cute cottage every time and
yeah, well, I really commend your efforts, Sam.
Yeah.
It's very, very well done. Yeah.
Thank you all.
Yes.
It means a lot to be able to share this with you all, because I think that I was just listening to, your last meeting and I've been listening in and it's like, I've been looking forward to bring this to you because I think, it's definitely, there's interest in protecting these viable homes and, yeah.
well, thank you very much for coming here and for bringing it, for coming to us.
Absolutely.
And in particular for continuing your journey with this, because it's needed by somebody who maybe doesn't have as much white hair as I do. So, it's always good to see it continuing on that sort of feel towards things and everything, that there is some importance in where we came from, what's happening, and the sense of community and so forth. It's something that grows in a place.
Yeah.
It doesn't pop up overnight. So it's something that you need to keep,
Absolutely.
nourish a little bit. So
And it can be destroyed much quicker than it was.
that's correct.
You'll never build it back, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah.
But then they're
gone
less-
forever, like, right, once they're,
Yes,
and
it's gone
that's,
forever.
it's like. And when you see it come and go, it's like, okay, it's gone now, like, there's. Yeah,
Well, and it's also amazing to me how many places are trying to recreate what we already have,
Mhm.
like Newtown, St. Charles.
I was thinking about that,
Yeah,
you know?
It's called
Yeah.
urbanism.
yeah, I mean, we have
Yeah,
it. Let's preserve it. We've got an advantage. We don't
We
have
have
to
to
recreate
really-
it.
You can look around at everything is like that. I think that when people put up the vinyl siding and any kind of
See.
fake siding they want to do, and you know, down the street from me, they've got their fake shingles, and I just think they don't look very good when you've got real shingles right down the street, you know, it looks.
I know what you're
just want
talking
some
about.
vinyl siding.
I've been looking at those myself going, it's a story with those.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it
Was
just
it
doesn't
brick
work.
veneer fronts,
Yeah.
siding on the 3 sides?
Yeah, the brick looks like, yeah, A or B tri-state. In the corner.
Right?
Yeah, they are.
That's what they are, yeah. Well, there's also a matter of, as well, at least in my experience in preservation, you always say death by 1,000 cuts. Means, well, this is gone and then this little thing's gone, that little thing, and I mean, suddenly.
She was accused of that, you know, the houses that are in here that they demolished were sort of deteriorated by neglect. There were some beautiful houses that they knocked down, that they just didn't bother to do anything with.
Yeah.
Oh, we just can't save it. Gosh, we need a parking garage.
it is purposeful at
Yes,
times.
yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why you cannot tell a homeowner actually. You can just neglect it, but. yeah.
And then the code enforcement officer comes out, and says, hey.
Flash your badge.
It's your job.
Yeah.
Good day job.
I sent this over, there's, Karen, you're in this group, the Community Land Trust. I was having a meeting tonight and I sent these over to them, the whole group, just to, so they, because you're cited in their business plan, the draft business plan.
Amazing.
About the demolished. I don't remember exactly what the citation was, but you are cited by name in that report. But I sent this over to them, so there might be some opportunities to kind of mesh your efforts with this and the city's efforts with this to what the Community Land Trust is aiming for too, in terms of perhaps identifying properties that would be good for renovation, that the trust can buy and go through, you know, the 99-year lease and blah, blah, blah. So I just thought they would be interested in that.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a good fit there together.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. They had immediate interest in this report. I actually I don't know who it was, but they were posting my presentation of the council meeting on Instagram like the day after the Community Land Trust. It was awesome. So I know that they've been interested as well in this, and I would love for any relevant boards and commissions to be able to take a look and we're gonna try to get this on the website sooner than later so that it can be viewed by the community as well. But yeah, I'm starting here. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay. So it is 7:45. We can quickly maybe go through a couple of these things here. How about our historical society liaison?
Yes, I'll be brief. So the article I wrote on the Lestron homes was published in the latest edition of the Herald. So I heard from a few people that read it. The Historical Society has proposed a couple of bylaw changes. I don't really understand it myself. It's about the term of the board of directors and how long they can serve. They were going to try to get them approved at the last society meeting, but apparently they needed to give more notice to everybody that they were up for approval. So it'll probably be the next society meeting, which, by the way, they had a society meeting last month, and it was their ice cream social, and it wasn't very well attended, I gotta say. So I don't know, they probably need to work on upping their involvement in their membership. And then, I don't know if I brought this up before, but Hawken House needs some extensive renovations or maintenance. They've got an issue with the roof and some water runoff that's threatening the foundation of the Hawken House. And they've been kind of wondering how they can raise enough money to take care of these needs. Right now, they've temporarily put Hillary, you probably know about this as much as I do. They put a tarp on the roof to try to keep the water from coming in
Oh, it's
because
so
they
bad?
they just don't have the funds to do the repairs. So they've been kind of talking about what kind of fundraisers. I kind of did a little Google research to find out if there were any grants for anything like that available. And at one time we had somebody come from the state and talk about grants, but they do not issue grants for any construction projects. So,
Do they do any fundraisers there? Any
Oh,
events
a
or anything?
little,
I mean, they have
yeah.
a lot of free things is what I
They have the
hear.
concert series, but they don't charge for that.
That's what I mean.
They have a gift shop, which is makes
Well, that's
hardly any
not
money.
open.
They charge for the tours of the Hocking House, but it's only $5 a person.
So they don't do any benefit for themselves kind of thing.
I can't recall one in all the
I mean,
time I've
they,
been
they
there.
make a little money off the Hearth House.
Yeah, the Heart
um,
House, that's probably their
events, yeah,
biggest
they-
money.
They have, wedding receptions
Oh.
and class reunions and things like that.
They rent that out.
Yes.
And apparently they just hired a new hearth room manager. Did you hear this?
Yeah.
And she's apparently a real go-getter. So they're hoping that they'll start getting more money out of the hearth room.
They have such a beautiful property. They really should have they should have a event, a charitable event,
We've participated, they have participated in like some of the, like they had this in June, isn't it? Where they have you can tour all the different historic houses.
Oh, I mean, where they charge people, like you pay money and get to go and have a nice dinner and whatnot.
Right.
Really, you're
They
just
did
having a
was
benefit.
they
for
rent
the
out
house.
booths to
Yeah.
people that can sell their wares, and they do one at Christmas time down at Rolling Ridge. They have a fundraiser down there, and again, it's people that set up their booths, they charge them rent, and they get the rental income from that event.
Yeah,
But that's about,
That's not the same thing as people writing checks.
Right. Right.
That's where
They make a
these
little
kind of
money off the
places-
historic markers too.
oh yeah, those
100-year.
century plaques are
Century,
$150
Right.
each.
You need a lot of them to fix the roofs.
Maybe they should just take the old ones and put them on the roof.
This just crossed my mind. I wonder if there's any like Webster contractors or businesses who might be inclined to, as a community service, help you guys with some of that stuff, like their labor who might be interested in pitching in on repairs or something.
Well, I think that, and it's been a while since they talked about this. It's been a couple months. But they want to make sure they get somebody who knows how to work on houses of that period. They don't want,
I get that.
Yes.
yeah, they want to
What is
maintain the
roofing,
historic,
too?
huh?
What is the roofing?
Is it a clay roof? Is it a,
Remember, it's
it's
just
shingles.
shingles, I think.
It's like asphalt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything,
It's nothing special.
not slate or anything.
I still think they should do something, we have all these restaurants, they could have the people come, do it for cost, all the money goes to the house and have a big event. Something
sounds like
similar.
their problem is they don't have an event planners. or
They don't.
They don't have
And then what
somebody.
they'd have to do is-
Yeah.
Or probably a committee to do this, whatever it is. So
Huh.
that's,
Well, it's not to be.
that's my bad news. And I'll keep you updated on it.
All right. They really need to, in my experience with historic house museums, they almost have to do that, something like that. They don't just get enough money from people touring and they just don't get enough money. They've got to do something to, either that or there's some endowment or something. There's some way that they get money. Otherwise, they just end up, oh, that one's gone or.
But they originally raised the money to move the Hocking House from where it was to its current location. And that was quite a bit of money. And I can't remember how they raised that money.
I wasn't.
No, I wasn't either. It was in the 70s.
I know.
I was still in high school. But yeah,
Okay.
I'll keep you updated.
Yeah. Okie dokie, thank you very much. And our tree plants, I guess you stole one.
I get, well, now that we have the budget approved, I need to know exactly how we go about getting that expenditure authorized. Who would I talk to about that?
You're gonna ask.
Her.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know, I don't know the procedure of the city for how we go about spending our budget. Because, you know, we're gonna have to pay these people. Yeah, because, yeah, so,
It's only been here 5 minutes.
yeah.
Probably 3
Yeah.
days.
And-
We have 3 estimates.
Well, I've already, let me tell you, I've already put some legwork in on this. I've been to 5 vendors. There's only one who can do it and use our plaques. Everybody else is, well, we have to use our plaques and it'll cost this much, or we don't do that, or whatever. So the 3 estimates thing, this is under $100. If I have to go back and ask these people, we're not going to use for an estimate. I don't think that that's going to be fruitful.
So you're looking for somebody who will take plaques that we already
I
have.
already found somebody. Okay, I've
Okay.
been doing the legwork. I've
Alright.
gone to 5 vendors. I found one. I just need to pay them. Everything else is ready to go. And we have the one plaque that was in error, that it was on the tree, and this really good vendor told me how to get it off there without hurting the tree. I did that today. We'll have that corrected, and we can also use it as an example of what we want. So all we need to do is pay for it.
Okay, oh yeah, if you can just ask Dr. Peoples, or what's the process for submitting the request for the funds, because we already approved it in the budget, so
Yeah.
they have funds allotted.
Yeah, and
We've
it's,
got some $1,200.
yeah.
And not a lot.
And I'm wondering if the process is like, other municipalities where it's kind of brought before this, this commission, you guys vote on it, and then it gets sent to council for you guys. to-
We've already given them a
Given
budget,
a
we've
budget.
already approved that.
Okay.
So it's just gonna be a question of what do they need to do to get
To
the
spend
funds
it.
dispersed.
How do I access my funds?
And it's not,
We'll
yeah,
see.
and like I said, it's not a big bunch of money. It's
Right.
probably under $100.
It's not an emergency or anything.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you're gonna ask,
Yeah.
she's gonna sign off on it, and then the finance people are gonna cut a check to whoever, you're gonna have to give them the bill,
Mhm.
what it is, who needs to be paid, how much it's for, what it's for. I don't know if there's a form that you'll sign, that, a requisition form or what have
Yeah,
you.
just
So
whatever,
you can just ask that so that they'll cut a check.
that sounds fine, because everything else is ready to go.
Okay.
Okay,
Then, how about the database?
well, the one thing that pops to my mind right away is getting that link on the city's website. That Joel had gotten that approved, and went to Tiara, and we were gonna have that put on the website.
So those people are.
But,
Joel is.
oh, yeah, but,
Is Joel still here?
no, Joel is gone.
He's the new Joel.
Yeah. Joel is gone and Tiara is gone. So my question is, how do we get our link that has been previously approved actually on the website?
I will also inquire about that as well, and see what's going on with this,
All right. So our next one is the Brentwood Development Historical Signage stuff. Have you done anything like that?
Yeah, I've been talking to a lot of folks at, one of my colleagues at WashU, and another colleague at the Missouri Historical Society about how to go about getting the right plaque. I haven't heard from Andre, so should I reach out to them to see where they are with that?
Well, what are you reaching out to Anders about? I mean,
Well,
I thought he
He
was
did.
fine with
He is.
doing some type of historical plaque once the development is done.
Yes.
Okay.
And we also sort of need to know, and what we need to know from him, they said they would tell us when the time comes, which is part of the thing where we have time, I guess, because obviously it's an empty lot.
Yeah.
But he said, we need to know where they would be okay with it being, or, like what kind of plaque are we talking about?
Well, I think it
Sort
might
of
be
thing.
just a little premature because we don't even know what his construction's gonna look like.
Yeah.
That's what I
We
was.
we don't know what the construction's
Yeah.
gonna look like. All we anticipate is it's gonna be some type of mixed use property with commercial on the bottom, apartments on the top. He's given a vision of what that's gonna look like. But until we're closer to what that whole development is gonna look like and approved, We don't know. I mean, at this point, we just know that he's receptive to doing a plat. So I don't
Yeah.
even know if we're anywhere close to
Okay,
where we
that's what I
can
was
do
wondering.
anything.
well, I'll
with
keep
this.
gathering some data, and then, when the time comes, I'll be ready.
I mean, probably the most we can do is because I think once one of what, if I recall correctly, the objective was to have some type of a homage to the landowner
Yeah.
there that owned that. Also, more than anything, probably pulling together what information we have about that and what we would like, you know, the wording to whatever for that to be. But in terms of placement and all of that, we're nowhere close to where we even know what that's
Okay,
gonna look
so
like.
he's not got anything. Yeah, okay.
No, we
That's
have,
what I
there,
thought.
nothing's come before council, nothing's come before the planners, planning
we're not
department, so we.
All
At
right.
least it's all clear now. I mean, that other house is done. It looks like it's been gone forever. It's even grass growing there already, you know, but so that whole lot is finally there.
We got the bricks.
Okay.
So, okay, thanks, Jason.
You're welcome.
Okay, and then in the world of conservation districts, our subcommittee for that, I suppose nothing's really been done, because we're not gonna really do anything
We
until
decided to wait till the
comprehensive.
comprehensive
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah, and also the mayor told us when she was here that when the council was ready for us to move forward, that they would approach us about what they needed from us and what our role would be and what form that would be in. So we're basically on hold until we're approached.
Okay.
Like Mayor Arnold was here when.
Right, I know when I
Yeah.
was out for surgery, but, okay, so, but that stopped your,
We don't know what we're supposed to do or what form it's supposed to be in. So that's why the understanding is we're waiting for direction from the city because we don't want to do too little. We don't want to do too much. We don't know what the goal is.
Uh-huh.
So we need to have some input as far as form, direction, content, timing, rather
Okay.
than just spending a lot of time spinning our wheels when we really don't have clearly defined goals.
That's a little the same as the Brentwood, like
Yeah.
we're a little ahead of things.
Yeah,
That's really all.
yeah, exactly. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like
We're on top of stuff.
We got started with the conservation districts and then it showed up in the comprehensive
Yeah.
plan. And now it's in Sam's report. So
Okay.
it's, this is great because it's moving forward and the city's getting input that this is a good thing and they're getting it from multiple sources.
But we
So-
were trying to kind of do some type of groundwork in terms of how other municipalities or cities are structuring or approaching the development of conservation districts, some best practices and some of that we might be able to incorporate as opposed to trying to just reinvent the wheel.
Absolutely.
Into them, that's
And we did a little bit of that.
Oh,
We
already.
had already started that, but there was no work submitting this. There was
Okay.
no goal. We had already started to look at different conservation districts in Columbia, Missouri, Kansas City, and mostly in Midwestern cities. That one in Denver was excellent, Champaign-Urbana. So we did a little bit of that. So if y'all would like something specific from us at this point, please, like you said, if you need something from us, let us know exactly what that is. So that, then, yeah. Just so we're
But so
doing,
now I see what she's saying is just we're kind of waiting for the comprehensive plan to be put in place so that
Right.
we have this a consistent approach to the submissions.
Right.
Blah, 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 blah.
exactly.
Okay.
I move that we adjourn.
All right.
They are
I'm
doing
getting
a
a second, but,
I'll second.
okay.
They are doing a public hearing for the comp plan on October 7th.
So thank you.
Say no, the requirement by law.
And then it'll be set. That's soon. Are you voting that night?
No, they're just gonna have well, I don't know. They're just gonna do a public hearing and then I assume it'll go back to council. No, that's a plan.
Yeah, it does have to go to the plan.
Yes.
Oh, so not approved yet. Okay.
Yes. What will be in the law.
The little stickler.
Well, Yeah, Missouri Revised Statute says very little about comprehensive planning in the state of Missouri, but it has this one thing where it says it's where you shall have a public hearing and it will be approved by the comprehensive plan and you will have public meetings. Blah, blah, blah.
Okay. Thank you all for coming out.
Right.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, Mrs. Bye, Doug.
Bye.
Bye, Doug.
Bye, Doug.